For the average person, Bitcoin runes are an absolute mess to try to understand. As an average person with an IQ of 90, it's incredibly hard to understand big words like unspent transaction outputs. What does that even mean? I painstakingly spent the last 72 hours learning every single detail and thing I could about Bitcoin runes, so you don't have to. I spent multiple hours reading about Bitcoin runes, watching multiple hours of videos, and getting a better understanding of the entire Bitcoin ecosystem, so that way you guys don't have to do that. And finally, I'm now able to understand the true power of Bitcoin runes, and I'm gonna let you guys know it's way more powerful than you think. There's one problem though. Bitcoin runes were created to be an efficient way to build off of the Bitcoin ecosystem, meaning Bitcoin runes are almost impossible to understand without fully understanding how Bitcoin works. So I had to spend another 10-15 hours of just trying to make sure I fully grasp Bitcoin and break down the whole ecosystem. I ended up learning just a ton of information on Bitcoin. A lot of it we're not going to share here today, but we're going to simplify things so I can finally break it down to you guys. So the first thing to understand is Bitcoin is decentralized, meaning no one actually owns it, but everyone owns it at the same time in its own way. Pretty much just exists on the internet as a network. Everyone's computers, all the Bitcoin miners, all participate to pretty much uphold the Bitcoin network. So the benefit to Bitcoin is that the network is pretty much shared upon everyone, so no one can really control you or tell you what you can or cannot do with your money. This leaves one problem, however. How do we know that someone isn't just going to go into the network and start changing with things and messing around and just trying to duplicate their money? Well, this is where the issue of security comes in, and there was a simple solution to that. And that solution was to have Bitcoin miners. So to put it in simple terms, Bitcoin miners are basically rewarded Bitcoin for keeping the Bitcoin network safe and secure, and making sure nobody is messing around or adding extra Bitcoin to their accounts. Just making sure that no one is messing with the blockchain and trying to do some sort of infinite money glitch. Bitcoin miners do this by using highly complex advanced computers, and they basically all work together to make sure that the Bitcoin network is valid and that every transaction is valid and that things are going on how they're supposed to be. It takes a lot of computing process to do this. That's why Bitcoin miners are awarded a lot of Bitcoin for doing this. Okay, so now that we know what Bitcoin is, what exactly is Bitcoin made up of? Because this is going to help us later to understand how runes work. Well, Bitcoin is actually a collection of something a lot smaller called Satoshis or Sat. We call them Satoshis because that is the anonymous creator of Bitcoin. We don't know who this person is, but we know that they went by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. So one single Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshis. So for a simple reference, this is pretty much the same thing, seeing that $1 is made up of 100 cents. So those 100 cents together make $1 the same way 100 million Satoshis make one Bitcoin. So every time that Bitcoin miners are working and they get awarded Bitcoin, they're essentially getting awarded these Satoshis. And from the very first Satoshi that was made all the way up into the most recent Satoshis that are being created now for the Bitcoin miners, they're actually labeled and they have an order to them, starting all the way from 0 all the way to however many Satoshis are made today. And this is really important to understand for runes. Now there's a slight issue to Bitcoin, and that's that every time there's a transaction made on the Bitcoin network, it costs a fee, right? But the thing is, sometimes when these transactions happen and these fees are charged, there's a little bit of Bitcoin that doesn't get spent. And furthermore, there's Satoshis that actually go unspent. So we get this sort of pile up of Satoshis that aren't used and almost like leftover change. It's almost like if every time you spent $1, 1 cent was left behind. Now that's an extreme example. I think it's a lot smaller than that percentage. But the main point is that every time there's a transaction, a little bit of these Satoshis get left behind and unspent. Nothing happens to them. So it actually creates a little bit of junk on the blockchain. It can get a little messy. Now, the next problem of Bitcoin was also trying to figure out how we can expand its ecosystem. Because Bitcoin, obviously being the #1 coin out there, has such a huge, attention to it. There's so much money involved in it, trillions of dollars in its market cap. However, it's just a coin. There were no NFTs available for Bitcoin. There was no meme coins. Nothing else could really be built into the system of Bitcoin. So one of the main problems was trying to figure out how to build NFTs into the blockchain and meme coins into the blockchain. And oh man, did we figure out how to do that, and we did it right. See, with other blockchains like Ethereum, there's one major problem with those NFTs. When you buy an NFT on Ethereum, for example, you're actually essentially just buying a link to the JPEG. So when you buy an NFT, there's essentially just a link built into that transaction. And that's what links your transaction to the JPEG, giving you ownership over that JPEG. The actual data for the NFT that actually makes up the picture itself, the JPEG, that's stored on a website. That's stored on a web space somewhere. The thing about web spaces is they don't last forever. So if the company that made your NFT would eventually shut down and the website no longer exists, you're gonna lose access to your NFT. And then are you really gonna have true ownership over that? So we ended up finding a way to combat that when we made Bitcoin Ordinals. And if you don't know what Ordinals are, those are basically just the NFTs of Bitcoin. And the way we figured this out is a very smart person who figured out that you could actually attach data to a single Satoshi. So, like I said earlier, one Bitcoin has 100 million Satoshis. So just one single Sat or Satoshi can have data actually attached to it. So you can actually then go ahead and attach an entire JPEG worth of data to a Satoshi and put that on the blockchain. Now it's going to be written on the blockchain forever that JPEG is attached to that single Satoshi, and now you have a JPEG that will literally live on forever as long as Bitcoin remains. Even if the company shuts down that created the NFT, it will still live forever on the blockchain. Okay, so now that we have a decent understanding of Bitcoin and a pretty good understanding of Ordinals, this leaves us with our final problem. How do we create meme coins on Bitcoin? See, the meme coin ecosystem is huge. There's so many people that are into meme coins, many Degens who love trading meme coins, creating meme coins. It's a big part of the crypto space, and you can't deny it. So how do we create meme coins on Bitcoin, which is one of the biggest coins out there? We have it for Ethereum, we have it for all the other blockchains, but one of the biggest ones we don't have meme coins on. So how can we create a system where we can make meme coins? And that's where Rune protocol comes in. And the cool thing about this is not only do we figure out a way to create meme coins on Bitcoin, but we also created a way to clean up the blockchain. So remember when I said earlier that every time a transaction is made, a couple of these Satoshis actually get left behind? And remember how I said we can actually attach data to these Satoshis? Well, that's your answer right there. Runes essentially attach entire meme coins to Satoshis. And not just Satoshis, the Satoshis that are left behind. So now these Satoshis, or Sats, that at one time were just lost on the blockchain for junk, we're actually getting a use case out of these, and it's cleaning up the ecosystem. Now, if you want to know the technical term for those unspent Satoshis that get left behind, those are called unspent transaction outputs. Or if you ever hear the term UTXO. So how is it done? Well, it works pretty simply. All we do is attach a simple set of rules to the Satoshi. For example, if I wanted to create a meme coin called Big Dog Boy, for example, I inscribe or etch data into one of these Satoshis, and I make it say, for example, I want the name to be Big Dog Boy. There can only be 1 million of these, and you can only mint them for 30 days. Those are the set of rules. Once I set that, it can't be changed, it can't be messed with. Those will forever live on the Bitcoin blockchain, and that is now inscribed into the Satoshi. Or the Rune's word for it is actually called etching. That's when you create a meme coin on the Bitcoin system. And finally, there's a couple more rules that Runes has. First of all, there can only be original names. You can't copy another meme coin's names. And this is actually a really good thing because I know on a lot of other blockchains, sometimes there's, duplicates of certain meme coins and it can get confusing. Another rule is runes also have an order to them when they're created. So the first rune ever created will actually have a number 0 next. The second rune ever created will have a number 1. The third will have a number 2, and so on and so on. So you can actually see the order that these runes were etched in. Now, a lot of these first runes that were ever etched were actually sold for millions of dollars just to get the first one in line. Now you can imagine that a system like this is now created that's going to last forever. These first initial runes that were etched into Satoshis are going to be super rare as time goes on, and everyone's going to want them. Now this is a huge step for collectors and investors like yourselves, because over these years, these meme coins will actually grow in value, especially if it has an everlasting effect. Now, especially Bitcoin being the #1 coin out there, you can see that these are going to grow quite a bit. Just for a small example, rune number 1, which was the second rune ever created, it has a market cap of $2.5 billion already. Now on coin market cap, that's around the 50th spot. You're up there with some of the top coins like VeChain, Monero, Arweave, for example. So now, if you want to buy some of these coins or runes, I think the best way to go about it that I find a little bit more familiar is using Magic Eden. Now, if you connect to Magic Eden with one of your Bitcoin wallets that are available to use, you can go ahead, add Bitcoin to your wallet, and start purchasing these Bitcoin runes. When you go to the runes section in Magic Eden, you'll see that there is a variety of different runes with the number that they were created in and how much it costs per rune as well. Obviously the top one is going to be very expensive, right now coming in around $25 or so, but it's #1, so you know that's going to hold value to collectors later down the road. So now I hope you got a better understanding on exactly how Bitcoin runes work, just how powerful they're actually going to be. Thanks for watching.